What's up, everybody? This is Steve Sterlacci, and welcome back to the Conversation Headrush. For the longest time, I've had a Headrush Prime. I helped launch it for Headrush, and since then, kind of been a little bit radio silent from the Headrush side of things. So I apologize to everybody that are Headrush fans that have been wanting more Headrush content. It's just that the Prime that I have, it's just so big. It's such a process to get this thing on camera and ready to film. But that is all changed now. This has got to be one of the biggest feature-packed updates from any modeler in the last couple of years. I'm really stoked about this. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. The two main things that I'm most excited about that we're going to see, we have a desktop editor, but not just a desktop editor. We have a remote desktop editor. So you actually don't even need to plug in to connect to your laptop, or it probably works just as good as on your mobile device, but basically, you connect to Wi-Fi and you're able to connect and interact with your Headrush unit. We also have these things called super clones. This is something that no other company's doing right now. It's completely new. I don't think anyone's doing anything remotely close to this, where, just to make a long story short, and I'm going to show you all this stuff in the next few minutes, but super clones essentially are basically two clones that you mash together. So it morphs from one clone to another clone. And you can also find middle ground there. So you can go from one side of the spectrum to the other. You can have two amps at different settings. So you can have a lower gain and a higher gain of the same amp, and you can morph them into one another via super clone. And you don't have to worry about turning knobs and ruining or mucking up your clones. In my case, I'm going to show you guys how I did it. I combined two of my favorite amps and I'm blending them using the morph. And again, it's not a crossfade, so they're not simply put together on a mixer and mixed. They're actually being morphed into one another. So you're getting cool characteristics from either one. It's a pretty cool process. So before we get started, thank you for being here, first of all. And second of all, analytics have been showing that less than 20% of my views come from subscribers. So if it's your first time here, awesome. Welcome. Thanks for being here. If you've seen the channel before, consider hitting that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And I also want to thank Headrush for sponsoring the video, getting me some advanced access to this update so I could have it ready for you on launch day to go over. Let's get to it. And also, Headrush is launching a new product called the Flex Prime. I don't have one right now, but this is kind of like a dual launch where there's the new product and there's the firmware update for the other units. This is good for Core and Prime as well. Solid update, great update, and a new product if that's something that you're into, if you're a Headrush fan. A lot to be excited about in the Headrush world. Okay, so make sure that you're connected to the same Wi-Fi as your Prime or your Core or your Flex Prime if that's what you're watching this and have in front of you. And then you go to headrushprime.local and it takes you right to this signal chain. And from here, you can pretty much do whatever you would normally do. And you can delete blocks. You can add blocks just by, hitting the plus sign, and there's all your stuff. When you pull up the blocks, you get access to all of your parameters right here on the right. I always liked Headrush because they have these presets. So if you're not sure, say like this is the new reverb pedal called Spring Guru. And if you're not sure what it's supposed to sound like, they offer you different presets using each effect. I think that's really cool. I don't think many other companies are doing it where they actually have presets within each block, like kind of custom favorites. So you can browse through those, pick your favorite one, and build your presets that way. So really intuitive. You have your set list here. You could just drag and drop your songs. I mean, everything that you want to do here. You have your global EQ access, all this stuff here, a bunch of useful things. You have your mic settings here, whatever you're doing with your microphone. Let's just go to a new preset. I can select my signal path here. You have, I think these are a couple of new paths where you can now do 410 and 212. So you can put vocals on top and then have the rest be guitar type of thing. Here's what that looks like. So your vocal goes right here. Your microphone goes in, your microphone goes out. Really useful feature. If you're going to be singing and playing, you do the same thing with 4. They also added output meters to your board. So you have an overall output meter now, and you have one for each block. So you can see what your block is outputting if you're boosting your signal or if you're cutting your signal, so you can get your gain staging just right. Having output meters makes it better to level out your other presets. Sometimes with your headphones on, things will sound great and level, but then you get to a gig and all of a sudden they're all over the place. having a little bit of a visual meter is going to help you a lot getting that stuff dialed in. Aside from the meter, you also get an advanced EQ here, an advanced section where you have an input gain, an output gain, and you have a 3-band parametric EQ that you can basically further tweak your effects. You also have these matched cabinet IRs here that they added in your Headrush folder. So you can go through here and you can actually find properly matched cabinets. Here you got Black's Luck, Norm, and Vibrato. Let's go with that. So you literally can match up to some stock IRs now that they added. Also in the global settings, you can now do things to on press. I think it used to be where you'd have to release the press for something to activate. Now you can set it to be on press, which now will disable your hold functionality. But if you're somebody that's just using pedal board mode and you just want to press to change something so it feels more real, snappier feel, that's going to be what you want to go with. I'm all for giving the user the option. So I like that. It's up to you. You also got a bunch of different hold functions that got added. There's also now switch doubling, and there is also just so much other stuff. If I go through this entire thing, it's going to take me an hour. So let's get right to the meat and potatoes and start getting to some sounds. Amp clone improvements. The amp and pedal cloning process, low medium gain has been improved. We've got better amp pedal clones. They use a lower percentage of DSP loaded into a rig. And we can now demo an amp clone when we are using the Headrush Cloud. Okay, I want to show you briefly how the super cloning is working. So when you get the firmware, you're going to get access. And if you're already a Prime, Flex, or Core owner, you get this plugin for free. This is the Revolver Amp Cloner. And this just works just like anything else. You do your cloning here. I'm not 100% sure if this is any better or worse than the cloning that's actually in the hardware, but you can do this without the floorboard, which is cool, or just as a standalone plugin. If you want to use this as a VST, that's cool too. So you can make your clone. Then we're going to go to Super Clone. Let's get started. So Super Clone, it's going to have you import 2 of your favorite clones. So in my case, I made a clone of my 63 Bassman. I'm going to add that. And I have my Samson era matchless DC30 that I'm going to add here. And now I hit next. So this is one thing I'm kind of critical of here is that the blend, if you want to call it that, I'm calling it blend. I don't know if that's the proper nomenclature, right? Terminology for it, but I'm calling it the blend. As you morph, you can have it apply the volume to the gain, but we're not going to do that because I think that's going to add things that I don't need. I guess if you're making it a solo boost, one will be louder than the other. As it goes up, the volume will increase. I don't know, but for now I'm clicking no. And then I already made one, but I'm just going to show you the process. So you can click on one of the skins. You can name it. Name it your example. And then when I hit save, it's going to take me so now I am actually at this, where this will be 1 amp and this will be another amp. So I'm using the gain knob to go from 1 amp to the other. So now if I'm just here, this is separate than what's on the hardware. You can import this right into the hardware. Your normal click and drag, same file sharing system, but just put it into the Super Clone folder. But this gain knob is going to be what changes from one to the other. Right now I have my Super Clone loaded into this block, and you'll see it here. I like 70% matchless, 30% Bassman. If I go all the way to 0, this is just the Bassman. And if I go all the way to 100, this is 100% the matchless. And I can now set this to a foot switch. I can do a parameter control with the foot switching, or I can set it to the expression pedal and just dial it where I want. Me personally, I've been having the most fun just using this as a single amp and just having it blended like this. Sweet. And now some of the effects that we got added, we got this Glorious Drive, which is a JHS Morning Glory. See what that sounds like. We also got a new reverb. Let's go to the new reverb. I think that is the Spring Guru, as I said before. And then as Headrush does, we could select our preset. Big wash. How's that? Maybe tight and twangy's more my thing. We got a new sustain pedal, which was an enormous deal for some of the other brands. Assign this to a momentary foot switch. Sustain, pedal, momentary. And that should give me a momentary sustain. That's probably more like it. So if you're playing a solo, you need more sustain. We also got a bunch of new looper improvements. So now you have an unpeel control. You have a threshold parameter, quantize changes. You have a rig out. I don't loop much, but if any of this is good for you guys, that's cool too. This is a pretty big deal. The added advanced audio output mode. So this provides you more flexibility in your routing. So the audio output, for example, gives you the ability to route a vocal output to the left XLR and quarter inch and a guitar output to the right XLR quarter inch. That's pretty useful. Again, if you're singing and playing guitar, you get to use XLRs for each of your outputs. That's pretty cool. And another thing, when you make a clone of just a head, they added an IR loader to your amp clone comparison page so that you're not just comparing that fried asshole buzzy B sound. All sorts of amazing stuff. So I think that does it for this brief overview, despite this being a long video. There's so much packed into this update. So let me know in the comments what you want to see more of from this update, because now that I can do this from a desktop, I'm way more prone to make some videos for Headrush and put a lot of content out there using it, especially with these super clones. I mean, these sound awesome. Being able to blend my Basement and Matchless, I mean, that's awesome. I really like that type of stuff. All of these new improvements, I think, we kind of all have been sleeping on Headrush thinking that they were not supporting the units, but there they were, doing all this stuff behind the scenes. So it's really cool to see that. But yeah, let me know what you want to see from the Headrush Prime in the future. And if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.